Isha, you can start with the session now. We're live.
Welcome everyone. Welcome to Coding Shiksha, where we are going to divide and conquer the abouts of life of a competitive programmer, Utkarsh Gupta, who's a grandmaster on Code Forces, a 7-star on Code Chef, already kicking the Kickstart competition with a global rank of 17 and national rank 3. Also, a charming record in various CP competitions. Welcome, Utkarsh.
Hello guys. Hi.
So, thank you so much for joining. How are you doing, Utkarsh?
Yeah, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine. Awesome. So today we'll be talking about your journey in competitive programming, how you started, how to get better at it, what are the competitions, how to build logic, how to manage your schedules with the college, and so everything about that. So first of all, let's start with your small brief introduction. So tell us about yourself and your life apart
Okay.
from
Yeah.
CP.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm Utkarsh Gupta. I was basically born in Varanasi, inside that BHU hospital, and then finally, like 17, 18 years later, I ended up studying in IIT BHU, in the same campus where I was born. So yeah, I'm currently in fourth year. That is the final year of my BTech through computer science, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, so how did you started with competitive programming? Like, what was the motivation, and what was like that day? So you started with competitive programming.
Okay, so I think I should give some context here. So, like when I was, I don't know, like when I was in class seventh or eighth something, at that time, I was a little bit interested in programming. So I used to just search things on the internet and do some things like not something very special, just HTML or something like that. But later, when I was in college in first year, so I got to know about competitive programming basically through seniors. And yeah, so since I already had a lot of interest in programming and everything, like I started with that. And since I did good in the beginning, so that gave me that boost in the confidence. So yeah, I kept on doing it, and yeah, that's how I would say I began.
Okay, so what language do you use when you do like competitive programming?
Yeah, so again, if I tell some like a history kind of thing. So in school I had studied Java. That was part of my course curriculum. And like from ninth or something I had studied Java. So when I initially started competitive programming, I started using Java only. But like I soon realized there are some shortcomings with it, like there are some problems with Java. So then I switched to C. And soon I realized that there are some extra features in C++. And then I switched to C++. And since C++ is like the best programming language for competitive programming, so I never left that. And yeah, so I still use that.
So students are always confused. So which language they should go with? Java, Python,
Mm.
C++. So what do
Yeah.
you prefer?
Yeah, so like I always say that you should start with like whichever programming language. If you're already familiar with some programming language, I think you should start with that only. For example, if you already know Python, then you should start with Python itself. That will be the best. But in case you do not know any programming language, I would recommend you to learn C++, because like that will help you in the in the long run. And it's not like it's very difficult to learn either. So if you don't know any programming language, I would recommend you to learn C++. And if you know any, then you can start with that only. But like after some time, it would be advantageous to you if you finally switch to C++. Like there are a few people who never switch to C++, and they keep on continuing in like Python or Java. But usually it is recommended to, after one point when you're a little bit familiar with competitive programming, it is recommended to eventually switch to C++.
So Okay, so were you ever confused between like you should go with project development or competitive programming? And do you think the people who do project development are better than like competitive programmers in
Yeah.
any
Okay.
scenario?
Okay. Yeah. So, personally speaking, I didn't ever go to the project development thing. I can't really comment which is better because, I believe you're talking in the context of hirings and interviews, etc. So, but I don't think how the hiring people um, manage the things. I'm not very sure how they um, what are the things that they consider. It's a little bit specific to companies also. Like some companies consider one thing more important, some companies consider another thing more important. So yeah, so that is a bit uncertain. So I can't really say much about that. But usually, whenever if you're going for some um, coding test or anything, so there at the initial level, competitive programming will help you a lot because like if you want to get shortlisted, at least you have to clear that round. And yeah, so that's where competitive programming is required. Regarding the project thing, I think there are some people who know a lot of things about development, and then they have like a very good resume. So maybe that helps them as well. But like competitive programming is like a more standardized and easier kind of way, I would say. I'm not sure.
Okay. So like how did you started like the basics you started with, and initially how many hours you were able to give to competitive programming?
Okay. So I think the in the very beginning, I think I went to hacker rank because that's what my senior told me to do. So I went to hacker rank, and there's this I think algorithms section. So there I started solving problems. I think like just for practice, I think I must have done like 40, 50 problems there. So then I got like 4 or 5 stars there. And yeah, so that's where I started. And that was, I think, mainly on the easy side only. So that was fine. Then eventually, I saw some other batchmates of mine using a thing called that A2OJ ladder. So there's a platform called A2OJ. So and there are like ladders there. So it's like a list of 100 problems. They're like very easy, but yeah, 100 problems are there. So like they were doing that. So like by seeing them, I also started doing that. So I think that was like the initial few days of my journey. And as you can see, I wasn't really learning anything. Like I wasn't really learning from some book or from any articles or anything. I was just I had some basic understanding of programming, etc., which is something that you can get by doing a course in your school or maybe in college. There's this programming 101 type of course where they teach C or something. So like if you have that much level of knowledge, you can start solving some problems. And in the initial few days, I think that would be the best for you because like at least you'll get to understand what kind of problems are asked and usually what is done to solve them, etc. And then once you have all that, I think that works like a good stepping stone for you. And then after that, you can start learning various things.
Okay, so like how many hours did you give to programming like when you started?
I mean, yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, can't really put like an upper bound on it. Um, I mean, I'm the kind of person like uh, when I'm doing something, it's kind of like I'm doing only that. So yeah, so you could say like almost full day in a certain sense. But it's not required for most people. I mean, I think For beginners, maybe 1 or 2 hours also is fine. But yeah.
Okay, so was there any time when you felt like competitive programming is not your thing and you wanted to leave? And
Yeah, I don't think that happened with me. Like it's happening to me now, not in the beginning. Yeah.
so like okay, so how did you started with logic building process? Like, do you think it comes by time, or it has some things have to be done prior to starting solving problems?
I think, yeah, I think you kind of have to, mm, like I think it comes with time. Like usually, like what I usually do is I always solve. Like whenever I practice, I kind of do it in like a progressive order. That is, I start with some easy problems, and then when I've done a lot of those, then I move on to a little harder stuff, and so on. So I think doing this step by step kind of thing, it really consolidates your logic building. And that's what I feel.
So what? Okay. So what platform do you suggest for a beginner to start with? There are many. So which one would you prefer?
Yeah. Okay. So personally, I began with HackerRank. I think it is good for like very beginners. Like if even if you don't properly know the language, also, if I talk about the beginning, then probably you should first of all try to learn a language at least, and that is something that you can do even without competitive programming. So like probably in the first semester of all engineering colleges there is the programming 101 type of course. So if you like do that sincerely, then that should be fine as a prerequisite, and after that you can start programming, start competitive programming through, like, maybe you can start through any of the platforms. But um, I think if you are like a very beginner, I think Hacker Rank would be good for you because their problems are like very simple, and like in the beginning you don't have to put much thought in it, and you can just solve a lot of problems quickly. So I think for like a few days, uh, yeah, so maybe like for a few days you can start on Hacker Rank, but eventually you can eventually I think you should move to Code Forces because like Code Forces is probably the best platform to practice there.
So you don't what about code chef if a beginner starts with that?
um yeah, I think Code Forces is better. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean
And
there are a lot of extra features in Code Forces like that would be really better for the beginners. Like for example, mm you can go to the Code Forces problem set, and there are a lot of problems together, and you can kind of choose the difficulty in which you want to solve. So that is something that is helpful for people at any level. For example, like if I'm a beginner, I want to solve problems of 800 difficulty. If I am advanced, then I want to solve problems of 2000 difficulty, and so on. Something like that is present at Code Chef also, but like it's not that precise. So yeah, I mean they divide the problems in like 5 or 6 categories: easy, medium, hard, but not in such precise categories. So also visible test cases. Yeah, thanks. Uh,
okay.
you
So
can you can even see in which test case your code was wrong. So, for example, if you run a code and you get the wrong answer on like fifth test case, so after that, if you change something and you are getting wrong answer on like seventh test case, then at least you can be sure that whatever thing that you changed was at least one of the mistakes that were already there. But with Code Chef, what will happen is even if you have like 3 mistakes and if you fix one of them, then you will still get wrong answer and you won't even know that you have fixed the mistake. So yes, there is one. Yeah, so that thing is also there. That's why I think Code Forces is like the best platform for competitive programming.
okay.
I mean, at Coder is also good, but like usually people won't find it very interesting because mm, because like it's not very well known. So um, like first of all, the thing is that it's not very well known. So that's one disadvantage of ad coder, but it's really nice. And the second disadvantage, I think, is that most of the problems are a little math based, and that's something that people find difficult. So that's one. That those are the two problems. Otherwise, that is also a good platform.
Okay, so you told about different types of problem, easy, medium, and hard. So, like when we start doing competitive programming, should we give a lot of time to easy problems, or like we should do less of them and move towards medium and hard ones?
I think see the term "lot of time" is like a very subjective kind of thing. So I think you should give enough time to any difficulty so that you are comfortable with it. Something like if you're like very smart and within just 3 days you become comfortable with easy problems, then you can quickly move on to the medium and hard ones. But if it takes you weeks or months to become comfortable with it, then like you should first get comfortable with that on that level, and then only you should move forward.
Okay.
Because yeah,
Okay.
like
Mhm.
yeah, so because what happens is usually a hard problem or even a medium problem is something like you make one or two observations, or you reduce a few things, and then what happens is it reduces to multiple easy problems, and then you have to solve all of them, something like that. Like for example, there's one problem and you realize one thing about it, and then it splits into two different easy sub problems, and then you have to solve both of them. So it's hard to do it if you don't already have a good understanding of the easy problems. So if you cannot do easy problems quickly, and if you're not comfortable with them, there's no way you would ever be able to do a hard problem. And even if you watched or read the solution of the hard problem somewhere, you would find it very confusing, because like you will have no idea how you can come uh, like you won't have any idea how one can come up with such an idea, because like even the sub problem is not obvious to you, so obviously you cannot think about the whole thing at once.
So, like, how much time it took for you to to reach 7 star? So
Okay,
so
so
like
if it
since how long you're on code share?
since how much time am I on Code Chef? Okay, so actually I started Code Chef in December 2018, but that was not the time when I started competitive programming. Competitive programming, I would say I started somewhere in September or October 2018. So I think we should count from that point. So from from October 2018 till I think in April or something, I was 7 star. So that would be almost 3 years. I think 2.7 or something, 2.7 years,
Huh,
I would say.
3 years. Okay, so it took 3 years. So there are people like they start with competitive programming and then they're like Genura and then they leave it and like it takes a lot of time in this. So
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, it's not like I think okay, I have been doing it for since 2 months and I'm still not 6 star or 5 star. I should leave it. Yeah, that's not how it works. It takes time to grow. Yes.
okay. So you're like doing the Kickstart thing. So can you brief us about Google Kickstart? What is it?
Okay. So Google Kickstart. Yeah. So Google Kickstart is like a competition that is organized by Google. Uh, it happens every year, and every year there are 8 different rounds of Google Kickstart, from round A to round A till round H. And these rounds are not blocking rounds. For example, even if you don't attempt the second round, that does not mean you cannot attempt the further round. So all of the rounds are like independent, and you can participate in any of them. It's usually said that the people who perform well in Kickstart rounds, for example, like there are 4 problems in each round, and if you can solve all of them, it is said that there's a chance that Google might contact you for an interview, and then you might get a Google job.
And so like okay, so anything that you want to say to like the beginners who start, so anything that uh, like from where should they start, or what kind of motivation should they get when they start, and they should not, like any message for them.
Okay, yeah, I think that's. I think that's a little too broad of a question. Um, like I cannot say any one particular thing. So yeah.
You can say like a bit, you can elaborate if you want to.
I think patience is like one of the very important things for the initial people. So yeah, so like if you're starting and it's very likely that in the beginning you might do really bad, or you might even do really good in the beginning. So mm, there can be like two things here. You can either get like too underconfident, or maybe you can get too overconfident. So both of them are bad. So yeah, so I think patience is the key, at least in the beginning. And after that, there's another thing that is important, that is called perseverance. So yeah, yeah. So one thing I would like to say is that competitive programming, for I would say for almost anyone who is starting competitive programming or is doing competitive programming, competitive programming is very different from any other thing, any other study related thing that you might have done earlier. I mean, if you have, like prepared for any exam, or if you have like, mm, any quiz or Olympiad or anything. So competitive programming is going to be really different from that, because it does not rely on uh, like on like usually in school exams or college exams, usually only one or two of your skills are tested. For example, in school exams only your memory is tested. If you can memorize things well, you'll be able to do everything. And even in the college exams, is that only, maybe in some math exams only, that the memory and your maybe something like logic skills are required. But in competitive programming, it's going to be very different. So most of your existing methods of learning things might not work here. Like if you uh, mm, like usually how do we learn things, we like if you want to learn for a college exam, we usually take like 1 week or something, 1 week before the exam, and we take a book and we started memorizing everything. We see some solved examples or something for problems, and then we do well at the exam. So that's how people usually learn things, but this is something that won't work for competitive programming. And the reason is that too many different aspects of your skill are required here. For example, you not only remember or memorize things. I mean, even that is important, but apart from that, a lot of things like your creativity, your even the innovation, the experience, and all of those different things, everything is relevant here. So yeah, so that's one reason why most of your existing methods won't work, and you need to follow an experience-based approach. Like most of the like I think all of the good competitive programmers are not the people who have studied a lot. They are the people who are very experienced. So yeah, so you should focus more towards gaining experience. Yeah, I mean,
So okay,
if you feel like you cannot solve a problem, and then if you feel like you should just see the solution and try to memorize it, you're probably doing something wrong. So yeah.
Okay. So when we start with competitive programming, there's this thing DSA we need to do. So any resources that you
Yeah.
would like to like say that they are the best ones, so following them will give a better DSA thing to us.
Okay. So DSA stands for like data structures and algorithms. So yeah, so the DSA or the data structures and algorithms are used in a lot of competitive programming problems, and many people do competitive programming just to learn DSA only. So yeah, if you talk about the resources for that, there are plenty available on the internet. For example, Geeks for Geeks has a lot of has descriptions of a lot of data structures and at least a lot of basic algorithms. And then there are some resources on Hacker Earth also. I think there's something called Code Monk or something. So you can check that out as well. Apart from that, if you like to learn from videos, then there are a lot of YouTube channels also which do a lot of such content. For example, like there are a lot of YouTube channels. I don't really recall the names of many, but yeah, I think something called Tushar Kapoor or something. Can somebody let us know in the live chat? Tushar Roy, yeah, I think Tushar Roy. He has really nice content on all that. And yeah, so there are like you can basically just search on YouTube if you want to learn something and you're stuck at that. You can search on YouTube and find content related to that. Also, there's this Abdul Bari. He also makes really nice content on all that. So, yeah. So I
So
mean,
we have
you can like read about things in a lot of places, and you can even watch videos to understand them more properly. But like if you mainly want to, I mean, like if you want to get good at it, then you will have to practice a lot of problems that utilize those data structures or algorithms, because without that it's not easy. Yeah. Because as I said, like experience matters the most in competitive learning.
so can you like give an example problem where like how to approach a problem?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I have a YouTube channel where I do only that in like all of the videos, so you can check that out. But if you want like a specific problem, then yeah, okay. So I have one that is like really beginner friendly. I think I should share my screen. Okay, is my screen visible? Like, I think someone will have to push it to the front stage. Hello? Is my screen visible? Can anybody let me know?
Yes,
Yeah, okay. So yeah, so this is like one problem on
yes,
code
yes.
forces. Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, so this is one problem on code forces named dragons. I think uh, this will be really beginner friendly and would be good for explaining how things work at like how things work in competitive programming and how you have to use multiple concepts in a single problem, kind of like that. So this is still a beginner-friendly problem only. The harder problems are much harder, but still here we can see some of the elements of competitive programming. So in this problem, it is given like something. There are end dragons that are in the level of a game that you are playing. So like you're playing a game, and there are end dragons in the current level that you're stuck on, and So all of the dragons and you, I mean the skeleton is you. So you and the dragons, all of them have some strength, and it is represented by an integer. So in the duel, what you want to do is like if two people duel, then the outcome is determined by their strength. So initially your strength is equal to S. So what will happen is if you start dueling with the ith dragon, and your strength is not greater than the dragon's strength, then you will lose and you die. But if your strength is greater, then you defeat the dragon and you get some bonus also. For example, if you defeat a dragon, you get some extra points to your strength. Your strength will increase as you keep on defeating the dragons. So you can fight the dragons in any order, and you want to determine whether you can win it or not. So you just have to print yes or no. So it is something like you have a lot of dragons, something like n dragons, and you can fight them one by one in any order, and you want to choose a specific order in which you win. Like you want to tell if there is at least one order in which if you fight the dragons, then you will win. So you have a strength of your own, and the dragons also have a strength and also a bonus kind of thing. So like whenever you defeat a dragon, you get some extra points to your strength, and yeah, so you want to defeat all of the dragons. So we want to choose a specific order for this, and yeah, so we don't know what to do here. Since n is very large, the total number of different orders in which we can fight the dragons can be a lot. For example, n factorial, which is the total number of orders in which we can fight the dragons one by one. N factorial is actually a lot for 10 to the power 3. Like even if n equals 10 or something, then also n factorial is a lot. So we cannot try out every order. So that's why we need to do this smartly, and we need to be quickly able to choose the correct order in which we should be fighting the dragons. So one thing that we should notice here is that whatever bonus points that we get upon defeating any dragon, those bonus points are never negative, right? So it's like if you defeat a dragon, like if you can defeat any dragon, and if you defeat that dragon, your strength will either stay the same or it will increase even more. So if your strength stays the same, then nothing has been changed. That's fine. But if your strength increases more, then you can defeat even more dragons. So what this essentially means is that no matter how many dragons there are, if you defeat more dragons, you become stronger. So that's what you want. You want to become that's the intuition behind the solution. You want to become stronger before you face the stronger dragons. So like you can see in this example, it is something like you have the strength 2, and there are two dragons, and this is the description of the two dragons. So the first dragon has strength 1, but if you defeat him, you will get 99 extra points. And the second dragon has the strength 100, and if you defeat him, you don't get any extra points. So what will happen is initially we can defeat this first dragon, and upon defeating the first dragon, we get 99 extra points, and in total we will have 101 strength. So then we can defeat the second dragon also. But this cannot be done in the second example because we only have one dragon, and your strength is 10. So you cannot defeat a dragon with strength 100. So yeah, so that's the idea. If we can defeat any dragon, then what we will do is we will defeat that dragon, and that will increase our strength even more. So then we are more likely to defeat even more dragons. So using that idea, we can realize that it is best to sort all of the dragons by their strength. So what we will do is essentially is that we will first face the weakest dragon, and then when we face the weakest dragon, if we are able to defeat that, then we get some extra strength, and then we will face the second weakest dragon. So if we can defeat that, then we get more strength and so on. And if we can defeat all of the dragon like this, then we get the answer yes. But what will happen if if we get stuck at some of one of the steps? For example, if we defeat 5 dragons and after that we are not able to defeat the 6th dragon, so what will we do? So there you can see that if we have defeated 5 dragons already, and we got some extra strength, and we cannot defeat this sixth dragon now. We know that all of the dragons that are at position 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and so on, they will definitely be even stronger than the sixth dragon. So if we cannot defeat the weaker one, there's no way we will be able to defeat the stronger one. So that's how we know that our solution is correct. So yeah, so the solution for this problem would be something like you first take all the inputs, and then you sort the dragons according to their strength, and you then defeat them one by one. And if you can get till the end, then the answer is yes. Otherwise it is no. So yeah, that's how you tackle an easy problem of in competitive programming. The hard problems require many more steps. For example, here, I think in university courses where you must have learned programming or something, their sorting itself is the problem that you are learning. I think I should stop sharing now. Am I back on stage? Yeah. So if you think about school courses or university courses, sorting itself is the thing that you're trying to learn. For example, if you're if you're taught something like a bubble sort or a quick sort or something, so there that part itself is the thing that you're learning. But in competitive programming, it does not happen like that. Here, the things that you have learned previously, they just work like a black box. Like you don't have to figure out how to sort, you just have to figure out when to sort and what to do with it. So yeah, so that's the whole idea behind competitive programming.
Okay, I think that was great. Sharing. We have a few questions in the comment box. I think we can answer them.
Great explanation. Please do yesterday's code chef cook-off tutorial. Okay, this one.
Which
Which
platform is
platform is
better?
better for a beginner, lead code or code chef? Okay, so I think it depends largely on what your motive is. So I think uh, if you don't want to get to a very high level in competitive programming, and you mainly want to get uh, get at a fairly good level, then and like perform well in coding tests, etc., then I think lead code would be better for you because it is more focused on that, and it is less focused on the other harder stuff. So yeah, so I think in that case, lead code would be better. But like if you want to either get really good at competitive programming, or you want to clear the coding test of the really tough coding test of some companies, then I think Code Chef will be better for you in the longer run. So yeah, so it all depends on what your purpose is.
Next
By viewing
question is
the
by Abhishek.
by viewing
Firstly,
the
which
problem,
steps
firstly
which
the
I need to
steps
run?
which I need to run my mind to solving a particular problem. Yeah, I mean, see, so as I said earlier in the session also, competitive programming is like very different from any other thing that you might have learned earlier. So here it's not like a flow chart or something that okay, this is how you approach a certain problem. Like first write the formula, then put the values or something like that. It's not like that. Um, there are so many different strategies that are present, um, uh, that everyone would have a different strategy. There are people who don't even read the problem statement fully before starting to solve, and there are people who read it twice or thrice. So there are like a lot of different strategies are possible, and you need to figure out which one is more suitable to you. So it's not like the one strategy is better than the other, because these are not comparable. It depends on your various skills. So like you also have like 10 different skills, and if one of them is better than the other one, then one strategy would be more suitable to you. Otherwise, some other strategy will be more suitable to you. So what you need to do is you need to figure out your own, you need to figure out your own strategy that is the most suitable to you, and that is something that comes with experience. So as I said, like if you start solving from the initial problems, then because the if you start solving from the easy problems because they are easy, then you will be able to do those. And while doing those, you would understand how you approach the problem. So, and that is your natural method. Like if you approach the um, problem in a certain way, then that is like, if that is something that you came up with on your own, then that is something that is more that is the most natural to you and most suitable for you. And you should try to extend that on the harder problems as well. How to
How to
unskill?
unstick
I think
your
it's
coding
upskill.
skills if you stick up skills if you stick to some rating for a long time.
Okay,
Okay, he
so
wants
if
to
you,
ask like he's stuck at some star
yeah,
and
yeah,
like,
right. So like if you are stuck at a, certain rating, then how you should go beyond it. So what happens is that a lot of times people think that if they are stuck at a certain rating, they are not improving. But that's not the case. Even if you manage to stay consistent on a certain rating, that means that you are learning things continuously. Because if you stop learning, then your rating would actually start decreasing because other people are still learning and it's all relative. So if you are kind of stable at a certain rating, that means you're still learning. So I think there's not much to worry about. Um, One thing that you can do is you can like figure out because if you have a rating, that means you're participating in various contests. So you can try to figure out what are the type of problems that you are not able to solve during contest, and you can then try to practice such problems, or maybe try to learn some special algorithm that was needed for those problems. And then eventually, like I would just say, if you're stuck at a rating, then I would recommend you to recommend you to participate in more contests so that you can get to learn more from the contest. And like if there are like even if you uh, lose some rating, it's still fine. You just need to figure out what are the problems that you weren't able to solve in that contest, and how to solve those problems, and how to solve similar problems. So after like maybe 10 or 20 contests, you would have learned a lot of stuff, and that would be yeah, so that would be helpful to you, and eventually your rating will increase.
proper order of advanced data structures.
Proper order of advanced data structures. Uh, So yeah, so again, that also depends a little bit on you only, but something like you need to make sure that you learn them in an order that you don't need to like don't learn a topic such that you haven't learned its prerequisite. So yeah, so that is something that is important. That first you should learn the prerequisite, and only then you should move on to something that depends on that. And like I think the best way to uh, follow a proper order would be to like I think uh, uh, okay, so first of all, it depends a bit on the definition of advanced as well, like what do you consider advanced. But like to follow a proper order, maybe like you can follow like a list of problems, and then if you are solving them one by one, then the data structures themselves will appear in that order only. So that would be helpful. Or like there are some lists on Geeks for Geeks, like a different article that you can find on Geeks for Geeks, important data structures for competitive programming. So you would find them in a specific order. So I think that order would do just fine. You can just start learning them in that order. Just make sure that you don't skip topics, like you don't keep on going from first, second, third, and fourth, and so on. Like try to like first you learn the second thing, then you should try to solve some problems regarding that and get a little more experience with that before you move further. So should we first learn and solve many problems or start CP? Okay, I think learning and solving problems is a part of CP itself. So I think um, I think yeah, it's like
We can have next question.
I'm stuck at the same level from past 1 month. What should I do for improving it? I think I answered that.
Answer the same question.
Is competitive programming necessary for placements? Um, I mean, like if you don't know competitive programming, then it's not like you won't get any job, but that it will be much harder for you than other people, because then you need to be like maybe very good at something else, and you would have to be very very good at something else. That's definitely harder.
Um, yeah, aptitude
Is aptitude and solving logic questions help? Okay. um I mean, okay, so you mean that I don't think I understand that question. Can you clarify in the chat again?
I think she wants to ask like logical, like aptitude practice and solving logical questions helps in competitive programming.
Okay. Maybe a little bit, but I won't say it's a recommended way to improving. Like, I won't recommend it, but like maybe like uh, yeah, in one way it could be said that anything that you do which kind of improves your brain, that would help here. But the correlation I don't think would be too much, so that's not recommended.
How much time ideally should be given to CP?
Yeah, give a problem in beginning. Okay. Yeah, so it again depends on your current level, but I would uh, give some hints regarding this. So you should kind of try to figure out what's your average time in which you solve a problem. Like, let's say your average time is around 1 hour, or let's say your average time is 30 minutes. So you should take around 35 minutes for each problem, and that is because you want to at least do half of the problems on your own. In fact, more than half of the problems on your own. And if you start taking less than 30 minutes before you see the solution, then essentially what will happen is that you will be seeing the solution for the majority of the problems, and you won't be doing them on your own. So that defeats the whole purpose of practicing. So that's why you need to make sure that at least most of the problems you should be doing on your own, and you should be seeing the solution for only a few of them. So that's why you need to figure out the average time in which you usually solve a problem, and then based on that you can set your time. Should we start DP first or graph? You can. I think you should learn graph first, because that is easier also, and there are some things in DP where you might require graph as well.
How is your experience through this journey?
How is your experience throughout the journey? I mean, that is like a very open-ended question. I don't think I can answer that. Like I can say it was good, but what does that mean? What range of problem should we do on code forces for a beginner to become specialist? I mean, usually, like, I think if you know about specialist, that means you have a rating. So I think usually you should solve somewhere near your own rating. For example, if your rating is like 1100, then you can solve in the range of 1000 or 1100 or something. Then gradually your rating will increase a little bit, and according to that, you can increase the difficulty on which you solve the problems.
What if the
What if I
editorial
read editorial of 5060?
questions plus
What if I read
200
editorial of 5060 of random 5060 problems? plus 200 my rating and then solving on my own. Would it help me kickstart? I mean, I don't think you, by reading the editorial of 50, 60 problems, you'll get better at it. You don't, like, just by reading the editorial, you won't understand the intuition behind the solution. Editorials usually just explain the approach, like they just explain how to solve a problem. They don't explain how to come up with a solution, and that is a very important thing, because it's not like whenever you attempt a contest, you won't be seeing a known problem. I mean, very few times it happens that the problem is like known, but usually the problem is not known, and it's like a very new problem, and you need to be good at arriving at solutions for new problems. So yeah, so just by reading the editorials and not doing them on your own, you won't be able to do it.
I think this was the last question. So just a second. So yeah, thank you for like this session, and we really had a very insightful thing about competitive programming. IEEE Chandigarh University really is very grateful to have you with us, and thank you for sharing your experience about competitive programming and guiding students about it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So yeah, thank you. I think.
Yeah. So thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. And guys, feedback link is shared in the chat box. Kindly do not forget to fill it before you leave the session. Thank you so much.